Everyone. So today we are going to do Leetcode daily challenge, design underground system. So let me tell you this question was one of the questions which was being asked to me in one of the bank company's phone screen interview. So you could easily guess at how important this question is. So before rather than explaining you that how it would be done, I'll explain you its code. But before that, I'll tell you that how to come up with this code by simply because it is a question about designing and it requires the immense use of data structures. So that's what this question is about. So first let us check about its time constraints which are given to us. Time constraint 10 raised to power 6 means for that time and ID that this much amount it could be there. So easily any sort of data structure we can use without and it won't give us any sort of TLE for the same. And the length uh, station name length means length of each character which is there. That is also till 10, so we can easily store it. And then there will be at most 2 into 10 is per 4, that is 10 is per 4 calls in total for check-in, check-out and get average time. And answer within 10 is per minus 5 of actual value will be accepted. So negative values also be there, but not negative values, but in we say that 1 upon 10 will also be accepted and it will be accepted at 10 raised to power minus 5. So precision till this much could be accepted. That's what they want to say. Now comes the part. Let us discuss about the question. So here the thing is that we are given with underground railway system. So we are given with underground railway system, right? But we are required to check for these three functions. That is word check-in, word check-out, and double get average time. So the thing is that there would be some traveler or some traveler who is traveling into it with train. So we are simply checking out that when he has checked in, then he has checked out, and then we are simply getting the average time in all this check-in, check-out thing. That is what the question is about. But what we are required to return is the only thing match which is required in this particular era. And then here in both of these, just about the data structure implementation is required. That is what data structure we would be using. So as per the question, that first thing is that we need to check in. Second thing is check out. So let us go part by part that how we could proceed. So in check-in part, a customer with a card ID equal to ID checks in station name at T. So from here we can get the time, that station name and that customer ID. Three things we can get from this particular function. A customer can only be checked into one place at a time, and that particular customer would be surely having just one place to be checked in. That's even obvious also that a person can't check in multiple places because he can't travel from a starting point which is at multiple points. Starting point would be one only. Then in this function, what would be that ID, string, station name, and time. A customer with card ID equal to ID checks out from station name at time t. So here we'll get the value of the ending station. Now let's go function by function. So here the thing is about storing and retrieving. So it would be better that we use unordered map where we could simply, and why unordered? Because we don't need anything in some organized manner. So unordered map will work rather than just using a map. So it will reduce our time complexity from login to order of 1 for the fact of simply checking about what is stored and what is not stored. And the second thing is we could simply check for everything in order of 1. So we are using the unordered map here and we'll store everything here. But unordered map also need to be modified. It won't be used as it is. The thing is that's how we would modify that unordered map. We will simply use int and then string and pairs would be used. So the three values we could store in one unordered map. So here, how we would be using this unordered map is, first we'll have this check-in and then route timing. So here the thing would be like, let me, this could be moved from here. Okay, so the thing is that here, what we would be doing is, we will simply take two unordered maps. One would be for check-in, because we will simply use in this function where we will simply store the ID of the customer, that station name from where it is starting, and the time at which it starts. And then this unordered map, which is route timing, because we want to calculate the average at the end, right? So for calculating the average, we require the timing also from a particular station to another station, right? Means timing between the starting and the destination station. We need that also. So in that context, we are getting this unordered map, which we are calling as route timing. So here, the string will contain the start station and the end station, and this particular pair. It will contain the sum of the time between those start station and end station, and the next thing it will be the count. The count for basically how many times it that station has been traveled, means that particular start station to end station has been traveled, means that particular start to end, means one person could travel from this S to destination one time, then some other person could travel from then 2, then 3, like this only. There could be multiple which would be there who would be traveling between this. So the count would be stored here. So that's the thing which is being here. The count is being required to be stored to get the average time that particular person has traveled for that particular station, means from starting to destination. Now comes the part of our functions which were being there in the checkout, and this particular and this particular. Now this underground system, at starting what we are doing is, because this particular is the constructor of our class, so we are simply have left it as it is. We don't require anything to be done here. What we require to do is, we are required to do in this particular function, that is in this check-in function. The check-in ID equals to station name comma T. Basically, we are populating the particular map, unordered map, with the values what we will be getting at this particular check-in function, and then we are simply having the string start to end. We will be simply making it for filling in this particular check-in, or not check-in, but this route timing, because we are required to have this particular string, right? So our first station, the starting station, we will get from this check-ins, this particular check-ins unordered map. Our first we'll get the starting station. Then we'll simply concatenate with this, just for our understanding that yeah, it is from this particular start to destination. And then we are having this station name, which we'll get from here. And the station name is basically the end station which we will be getting. So from this string, we are simply making start to end, that is the starting station and the destination station. And then in this route timing, we are simply populating the values. How we are populating is, route timing is start to end. This is our key, and then as we were having sum of time and count, right? So the route timing start to end dot first, right? That is this particular. Earlier it will be 0 only. So at the starting it will be 0, but when more values would be populated, means here, and even with the first moment also, means then second time will come. So whatever value we would be having that particular time, it will be simply added up. And moreover, we also require the time between those two stations, right? So this particular, the time of ending would be here, minus check-in of check-in of id dot check-in, that is this particular time, which we were having at the starting station, right? That need to be subtracted from the end station timer, because you all know that if we go here at 9:30, if we reach here at 11:30, so we would be required to minus these, right? Then only we will get the time between this particular station. So that thing we are doing here. So this was the thing. And adding up to this simply means that whatever previous time which was being stored here, that would be simply added up to this time, and again when this particular checkout function would be called. And then for this count, what we are doing, route timing start to end dot check-in, that whatever count was earlier, means starting it will be 0. So then after that it will be simply incremented with 1. So that's what we are doing here. And then we are simply doing check-ins dot erase of id, because we simply need to erase that. Either we could skip also, but we are just freeing up the memory, so we are erasing from here. So these were the two functions which were required to be populated with all the values which were there. Now going to the second last part, that is the get average. For this get average, we would be given with the start station in the end station, right? So what we will be doing is, we will first have a pair. In that pair, what we'll do is, we will simply have the values which were being stored in this route timing. The values were the total time and the count for getting the average, right? So we will simply store in this particular pair in comment T, route timing of start station plus means that particular string would be simply getting here, just concatenated them same as it is, so that it could appear as the key, and it will find out that does this particular key have some value this was stored earlier or not. So that would be it. Then at the end we will simply return double p dot first divided by p dot second. Just simply how we do average, that's the thing which we are doing here. So this was the whole solution which I had given, but the interview at that time pointed out this particular fact, that if p dot second becomes 0, in Leetcode there is no test case as it is. So yeah, it has passed this whole solution, so it was done. But interview pointed out that if there is something like that, p dot second becomes 0, that is if a particular station is not reachable by anyone, or if it is so far enough that it has been skipped, or thus that particular destination hasn't been reached, so count simply is 0 at that time. So in that particular scenario, it could give us what sort of error it will give us. So in that thing, the thing was that at that point the count will become 0, right? Means this particular value will be 0. So that's why we are required to keep a check that p dot second, if it is equals to 0, then we are simply required to return 0. Else, if we return the thing as it is, then the thing would be that it will simply break our code. So that was the thing which you had helped me to simply figure out. Now comes the last part, that is the time complexity and the space complexity. So the space complexity we can clearly check from both of these functions. It is simply n square. Sorry. Yeah, it is n square, but the way I have written for that, sorry. It is simply order of n square, because we would be storing the station, start station and the end station. Both would be having the values in such a manner that it will simply become n into n. Means for a particular start station, there could be n number of values, and for a particular destination, there could be n number of start stations, because a person could start from any particular start station, and even a start station could go till any number of destination stations. Although at one time it would be just one, but the values which would be stored in the map could be n into n. So in that context it is n square, but the time complexity here is directly order of 1, because we are using unordered map, and we are simply just storing into it and then just retrieving the values in order of 1 time. We are just doing this mathematical calculation, which is again order of 1. this particular is also order of 1, and this particular also is order of 1. So the overall time complexity is simply order of 1, but the space complexity of order of n square. So this is a most optimized solution which could be given, and this was all here. So yeah, this was all for this particular video. So if any doubt, you could simply comment out, and do like and subscribe to my channel. So thank you.